What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Nick 4K video. Today we're checking out a video from Oscar Byrne or Oscar Byrne. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I apologize in American. But his video today is called The Sad Decline of DVDs. So let's check it out, guys. If you enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And if you want to see more from me, there will be cards up there. You can go and click my playlist and check it out. With that said, let's begin.
DVDs. You know them. You probably own some. I think everyone on Earth owns at least one DVD somewhere, maybe in the attic or under the couch. They were everywhere and do still exist today, although to less success than the glory days of DVD. Now, DVDs were huge a few years ago. It's a very basic concept, really. You buy the thing you want to watch, and you get the thing to watch whenever you wish. But nowadays, DVDs are seen as outdated, and to be fair, with them usually being capped out at 4.7 gigabytes at a resolution of 480p, that is pretty outdated given the fact that basically every TV is 4K now. And yeah, watching 480p content doesn't really look great. But what went wrong with DVDs? And if they are supposedly an outdated format, why are they still being made? And why are people still buying them? Also, what about Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays? Well, all of these questions are rhetorical questions and I'm going to answer them now in this video, as we look at the sad decline of DVDs. Believe it or not, there was actually a time where you couldn't watch movies at home, and the only way to experience movies was in the theatre. Mostly because, I mean, look at the technology used to show these movies back in like the early days. Do you think the average person can use this? Not to mention, the cost of making a release print of a film was, well, very expensive, so it just made more sense to charge people a fee to travel to a place that had one of these machines to show movies, rather than give each person their own machine. But this did have the downsides of, 1, you couldn't watch these movies whenever you wanted, the movie theatre had to be showing it, and 2, when the movie had finished its theatrical run, you couldn't watch it anymore unless it was re-released. It was just gone. Now, we would remain this way up until around the 1950s, when the television had become a common thing for people to own.
You know, I never thought about it that way. That's true. You would just go, you'd watch the movie, and then you just wouldn't watch it again, ever again. That's such an interesting concept to think about. Like, I've never thought about that. Wow.
And the TV can show movies, so most movies were likely to be broadcast on TV after the theatrical run, but you still couldn't watch it whenever you wanted, as you weren't able to record TV at this point, which meant you'd have to be there when it aired. So you know, if you didn't feel like watching that movie at this point in time, tough luck. Now's your only chance. In case anyone points this out, the BBC had successfully recorded live TV to film in October 1947, but this wasn't like accessible technology that anyone could use. It would remain this way for many years. There was definitely a demand for home media, and there was a large market of people who would buy that. So companies began trying to make their own form of home media. There was a format war. You had Sony's Betamax, and eventually, on September 9th, 1976, the VHS would be released in Japan, and later brought over to North America on August 23rd, 1977. And that's what won the format war. VHS tapes were these things, simple design really. You've got a plastic shell with tape inside, and when plopped into a VHS player, your movie would play. The VHS could not only be used to play movies, but you were also able to record TV broadcasts and make your own home movies. The VHS definitely had its limitations compared to the DVD. The VHS had no menu options, meaning no scene selection or cool menus, and you'd have to rewind the tapes back to the beginning once you were done watching it. Also, the tapes could degrade over time, especially if they were watched a lot.
So for the young collectors, those I'd say who are probably 20 or under right now, maybe actually 25 and under, VHS was kind of like the first spark of physical media collecting. From a certain perspective, you could say that there was other stuff before that, but really VHS was when a lot of studios and companies started investing money and stuff to make these home video formats. So effectively, that was the beginning of really what we have today. And I'll say this, I remember the VHS to the DVD was crazy. I had a VHS as a kid, and I remember having a ton of tapes. My dad once got like a bunch of tapes on sale for us or whatever. A bunch of kids' tapes, crazy ones. I even had like a Nickelodeon one that was orange. I remember that being so cool. I don't remember what was on it. It might have been like a Rugrats movie or something like that. But so cool. I loved them. But I thought it couldn't get any better until we got a DVD player, and I put the disc in, and I remember asking my dad, like, hey, how do I rewind this? So if you didn't know, you had to, for VHSs, you had to put it into the VHS, and then you had to rewind it into VHS to get it all the way back to the beginning. Or if you were a rich kid, you had this actual standalone VHS rewinder machine where you would like put the VHS in and you'd pop it down and you hit a button and then it would reset itself for you. Now, of course, you could also take like a pencil and also reset it if you really wanted. But you had a fancy machine like that. You know, you were one of the coolest kids on the block. That's just the way it is. And I had one. So when DVDs dropped, man, I was like, how do I rewind this? I remember I watched the full movie and I was like, I want to rewind it now. How do I do that? And my dad's like, look, and he clicked the button and it rewinded the beginning in a second. I don't have to sit there and watch this thing rewind for 5 minutes. It did it in a second. And that's when I knew this is the future, baby. I remember thinking nothing could ever be better than DVD until Blu-ray came out. And I remember thinking nothing can ever be better than Blu-ray. And then 4K Blu-ray came out.
Led to quality getting worse and worse. Not to mention the quality wasn't that great to begin with. Here's some VHS footage compared to DVD footage. The DVD picture is clearly clearer. But I mean, you couldn't exactly be too picky since VHS was really your only choice for watching movies at home for a good long while. And I think people were just happy to finally be able to watch movies whenever they pleased. The VHS reigned supreme for many years until the DVD was released on November 1st, 1996. Also in Japan, with it later being brought over to the United States on March 24th, 1997. DVDs are basically better than VHS in pretty much every way. The quality is much better. They can't degrade in quality from being watched too much like VHS could. Your 100th time watching Mean Girls on DVD is gonna look the same as your first time watching Mean Girls on DVD, whereas your 100th time watching Mean Girls on VHS is gonna look shit. DVDs also had the benefit of being interactive, which allowed for menus. DVD menus are something I could make a whole video about, but they're so cool. They allowed for special features and bonus content to be accessed. A VHS would just play from start to finish. Your only interactivity is pausing and fast forwarding and rewind.
There's one thing that DVDs do better than Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays, and it's their interactive menus. Like when studios first were able to do those menus, they would put like secret hidden stuff in there. Like they would hide like little bloopers and stuff in the menu if you wanted to go looking for it, and you can unlock it. They really put a lot of work into their menus when DVDs first had them. And now it's just kind of like, hey, here's a menu, watch your movie, pick your language, pick your chapters. That's it. There's no special features. There's no like hidden little things. Nothing. So that's disappointing, but I mean that's the way it goes.
But with DVDs, you can navigate menus, which by themselves look cool, or at least used to. And with this new feature, you could have scene selections instead of just trying to fast forward to the right part of the tape. And sometimes games. I mean, not something like Fortnite, usually just a quiz or something, but still, couldn't do that on VHS. And as mentioned before, bonus features, which are a big selling point of DVDs. Sometimes it's on the box. Yet cool behind the scenes footage, bloopers, interviews. As we can see by this graph, which shows DVD and Blu-ray sales compared to VHS, once DVD was introduced, the VHS sales immediately began to decline, with the DVD and Blu-ray sales shooting up. Also, by the way, Blu-ray was released in 2006, so this graph is just DVD. By around 2005, everyone had pretty much adopted DVD and given up on VHS. Pretty much every movie that was on VHS had been re-released on DVD at this point. Since the companies had realised, oh shit, we can sell the same movie again, full price, to the 100%. Same people. Usually it was marketed as having extra features that differentiate it from the VHS version. Sales of DVDs peaked in 2005, reaching over $15 billion. But as I mentioned before, DVDs are capped out at 480p, which is not HD, and the world was clearly heading to a HD future, which led people wondering what will come next following the DVD. And on April 18th, 2006, the people were given their answer. Kind of, not really though, with the release of HD DVD. HD DVDs were 1080p, much higher than DVD's 480p, and they were able to hold between 15 and 30 gigabytes of data. Once again, much higher than the DVD. So it looked like HD DVD was the future. But then, only a couple months later, Sony released the Blu-ray disc on June 20th, 2006. Blu-rays could also show 1080p content, but Blu-rays had the added benefit of being able to hold between 25 and 50 gigabytes of content, much higher than HD DVDs, which would mean the movie wouldn't have to be compressed as much, and more things like bonus features could fit on the disc. Again, being less compressed. For a while, both these pretty similar formats existed together, which obviously didn't really make a whole lot of sense, since they were basically the same. So eventually, HD DVD sales dropped and Blu-ray was declared the winner. But here's the odd thing: when the DVD released, it basically killed the VHS because it was better. However, even though Blu-rays are better than DVDs, Blu-ray...
Okay, so before we go too much further, I do want to kind of cover the HD DVD and Blu-ray disc debacle situation. We have a couple videos on this already, but for those of you who might be new who don't know, I started collecting around 2015. So by that point, Blu-ray had definitively defeated the HD DVD. But there are a lot of different collectors that I've talked to over the years who had actually chose the HD DVD format, and some of these guys had some crazy collections. They had almost every single HD DVD collection, and then like one day they just stopped making them and Blu-ray just blew up, destroyed the HD DVD, and they got left behind. And there's some guys out there with massive lots of these things just sitting there. So I always felt bad for those guys. Some of them actually really love their HD DVDs, and that's awesome, but that would be really disappointing if I invested all my money into an HD DVD format, thinking that was going to be the one that was going to, take the gold, and it didn't. And it was Blu-ray, and so that's the way it is. Blu-ray was the superior format, and it also had the backing of the PlayStation, and that's it. That's all it needed.
Since they were basically the same. So eventually, HD DVD sales dropped and Blu-ray was declared the winner. But here's the odd thing: when the DVD released, it basically killed the VHS because it was better. However, even though Blu-rays are better than DVDs, Blu-ray hasn't killed DVD to this day. Movies released on both formats despite 480p content being incredibly outdated. But as you can see by this graph, both DVD and Blu-ray sales fell after 2008. So, what was the new thing to replace DVD and Blu-ray? Well, it was streaming services. Netflix is a name you definitely all know. It's probably the most famous streaming service and pioneered the modern day streaming services we know today. It was originally founded in 1997 as a DVD mail service. This gave Netflix the advantage of being more convenient than places like Blockbuster, as you didn't have to actually leave the house to get your DVDs. You just paid and were sent your rental. Originally, Netflix used the same model as every other company and would charge $4 per DVD, but that changed when they decided to introduce a subscription model in 1999. This allowed you to pay a monthly fee of $15.95 to rent unlimited DVDs, and you could keep them for as long as you wanted, but you'd only be able to rent more DVDs once you returned your current rentals, which gave people an incentive to send the DVDs back, so that they could get as many as possible and get the most out of their $15.95 a month. With that price, people would only have to rent 4 DVDs per month to get their money's worth, which is something everyone probably did already without trying, so it just made sense to buy this. Netflix was already convenient when it launched, but in January 2007, Netflix was able to launch their video-on-demand streaming service, thanks to the fact the internet was now much faster and more reliable, therefore able to stream video. This was way more convenient, as you didn't have to wait for the DVD to ship or send it back.
Yeah, I remember, so I remember the first time I heard about Netflix, it was like a commercial and it had like the mail-in service. And I remember, I think it was probably like 2008, 2009, 2010, whatever. I went over to a buddy's house and he said, "Hey, do you want to watch Netflix?" I'm like, "Sure." And or was it later than that? When did Netflix launch? I don't know. I want to say it was around that time. I could be wrong. Whatever the case, I'm getting old now. I don't remember when this was. But I remember going over to his house and him saying, "Do you want to watch Netflix?" And me going, "Netflix? Like, what do you mean do I want to watch Netflix? You mean like the DVD they sent you?" And he's like, "No, look, they have this whole streaming service thing." I'm like, "Oh, what? What is this? This is something nice. I like this. I don't know what this is. It's a little scary, but I like it." And at the time, like, Netflix had like everything on it before all these other studios pulled their stuff off to their own streaming stuff. Netflix had everything, and so it was a crazy good value. It was only like $7 a month, maybe less. Maybe it was like $6. I don't remember, but I do remember it was a crazy good value for sure when it first launched, and for a couple years after that, it was really, really good.
Clicked and watched whatever you wanted instantly. Naturally, people end up preferring this over having to wait and also mail back a DVD. This moment marked the beginning of the decline for DVDs, and in 2009 Netflix streams would overtake the DVD shipments. With internet connections getting faster and faster every year and things like smart TVs becoming more common, Netflix blew up. To be fair, initially pretty much everything you could want was on Netflix, so it made sense to buy that instead of likely paying more each month for DVDs. So the DVD sales declined and streaming streaming blew up. Look at this graph. Oh my god. It became like twice as popular as DVDs. Around 2015, physical media was dethroned as streaming took over in sales for the first time. It's Jova. Unfortunately, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for streaming, as the incredible amount of revenue Netflix was earning made movie studios go, oh wait a minute guys, we have tons of stuff.
Too.
Why are we licensing it to Netflix?
Yeah.
Let's make our own streaming service and that way we can make more money. This led to where we are now, with everyone having a streaming service. There's Netflix, Disney Plus, Max, Prime Video, Paramount Plus, Peacock, Hulu, Apple TV Plus. In fact, I'm just going to scroll through the Wikipedia list of all of them to show how insane this is.
It is crazy.
No one asked for this, and now I'm proud to announce my own streaming service where you can watch my YouTube videos and
it's crazy how we all were like, you know what? Cable sucks. We're all cutting the cord. And studios were like, nah, you ain't getting away that fast. Oh man, it's back. Cable's back, baby. I don't know.
Our Stupid School, which is a cartoon I made that you should check out, and these terrible stop motions I made when I was 10. It's only $10 a month. Wow. I'm kidding, obviously, but like in the past, you'd only have to pay for Netflix pretty much because everything was there. But now you probably have to pay for all this, even if you just want to watch a couple of things on a platform. Unless you have NordVPN. I'm kidding. I know you're about to double tap as fast as possible. I'm not doing any ad, but also you probably should get VPN. It's also important to note on February 14th, 2016, 4K Blu-rays were released, which, as the name implies, allow you to watch movies in 4K. These discs can hold between 50 and 100 gigabytes of data, which means they're probably the best way to experience a movie right now. Well, second, I mean movie theaters are always going to be the best, but in terms of at-home viewing, these are the best. And I know Netflix has 4K movies, but streaming 4K is not the same as 4K Blu-ray 4K. But most people couldn't stream a 100 gigabyte file, so streaming services lower the bitrate to make the file smaller and easily streamable. This very video will be compressed from its original file size that I'll put on screen now, but a 4K Blu-ray won't have to be compressed because the whole movie is already there, so there's nothing to load. You won't even need internet. Also, if you don't know anything about bitrates, do not look it up. You'll never be able to unsee it. You'll notice it whenever you stream something, so it's better to live in blissful ignorance. Anyway, the streaming service market right now sucks, and there's so many services competing with one another that companies are just shoveling so much money into shit. Amazon spent $500 million on one season of a Lord of the Rings show. Why? You cannot possibly make that back in any way. Granted, you don't really care, but still, that's just such a stupid idea. Peacock also spent an estimated $10 million per episode of The Ted Show, which, in the end, ended up being a great show that has the same quality as the movies, but also there's only 8 episodes, or 7 technically. For some reason, they split the first one in 2 in the UK, but only on Sky and not the DVD release, but anyway. That's like $70 million if this estimate is to be believed. I mean, the movie is short and has a budget of $65 million, so this is believable. But like, it is basically a sitcom. There's no way you can make that money back on that. Even if it was the top show on Peacock for weeks, that doesn't matter. There's like 8 shows on there anyway, it doesn't really mean anything. And they're also making a second season. You can't make a profit on this, surely. And what do they do next? Just keep losing money because these shows are popular? That can't work. Eventually they'll run out of money, or just stop the show. Most streaming services don't seem like they're gonna last, and in the future I am expecting companies to realise they're losing money and consumers to realise they're sick of having 8 streaming services. What will happen if this ends up happening? I'm not sure. Everyone is so used to getting everything when they want it that I can't imagine DVDs will make a comeback. But if I were to guess, I think most streaming services will fade away, and one mega streaming service will just exist, like how old Netflix was, having everything on it, except it will probably be way more expensive. DVD and Blu-rays and 4Ks will probably increase in sales as people get sick of paying monthly and essentially owning nothing. Like, looking at the sales of some specific TV show box sets, this is already starting to happen. Now I'm going to explain the benefits of using a DVD, Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray instead of using streaming services. Also, I think I'll just say physical media instead of DVD, Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray, because it's just easier. Yeah. First off, I mentioned this earlier, but if you stream a 4K movie, it will look worse than watching the exact same movie on a 4K Blu-ray. I already explained why, so for time's sake, I'm not going to go over it again. But another thing is, you might see...
Okay, so I'll just take a second to cover that. So for the layman's, the people who do not care about that bit rate, who just want a relatively good quality, streaming is just good enough. But if you do care about having the best of the best, you want the best of the best, which is the 4K Blu-ray. That's just the best of the best. Sometimes the Blu-ray is better from a certain perspective, but at the end of the day, the 4K Blu-ray for like 95% of titles is the best way to get it. And sometimes when it comes to 4K streaming, like the bitrate for that is like the same or even less than what a standard Blu-ray is. So if you really want that high bitrate, you want the best version of something, it's the 4K Blu-ray. That's why I collect 4K Blu-rays. That's why I will always collect 4K Blu-rays. If they eventually do 8K, I might jump to 8K for some titles, not most of them. But for titles that like would need an 8K, like I think like Avatar would look really good on 8K, or some other movies or whatever. But I always stand by the 4K physical because of two reasons, really. The extra quality, and of course the fact that I actually own the item. I'm not paying for a license, I own the actual item. And I think it's very important for us to stand by our media, because as soon as we stop buying it, they'll stop making it, and then we no longer own anything. And I really don't like that future. So that could just be me, but I don't think it's just me. All right, let's continue.
Oh, a new movie on 4K is $24.99, but Netflix is only $17.99 a month in 4K. Which, by the way, I just gotta complain about Netflix plans, because I'm one guy, right, as you can see, so I should just buy the standard plan, right, because I'll only ever need to watch one thing at once, and this lets you watch two, which is more than I need. But at least it will also let me download on two devices, which is perfect because phone and tablet. Cool, I should just buy this one. Well, no actually, because this plan limits me to 1080p max resolution, so instead I have to pay an extra £7 a month just to get 4K.
That's
Why?
so,
because there's no option to just pay
greedy.
extra for only 4K.
Greedy.
Instead, I need to buy the next plan, which also forces me to pay for stuff I don't need. Why do I, one guy...
Okay. So real quick, and he's gonna keep ranting about this, but this is the type of shit that's killing streaming. I know, like, streaming will never truly die. I get that. My point of view is, like, this is the type of shit that cable did, and cable died, right? Streaming is just becoming the new cable, and every single one of these streaming services do this. Now, Netflix is the one who can kind of get away with it the most because it is the biggest. But at the end of the day, shit like this, the fact that you actually can't just get the 4K versions with this, so such shitty business practices, and this is what's going to, I don't think it's going to kill Netflix, but I think this is what's damaging Netflix the most. And this is the type of shit that's going to drive people to physical media. And that's what we've been seeing with the physical market. We've been seeing people go back to physical. Now, of course, it's not everyone going back. It's kind of just like a small percentage, but that small percentage could eventually become a slippery slope that leads to a bigger percentage, not massive, but a relatively bigger percentage that comes from the streaming services. So the streaming services doing this is what's going to kill them. And you know, that $17.99 in America, I think that's $24 about. I might be wrong, but how long before that's $30? How long before that $30 turns to $40? You know what I'm saying? That type of shit, we got to shut it down now, or it's going to get worse. So buying physical is a really good way to not only own the item for yourself, but also to show the streaming services that you're not going to do this bullshit. So that's just my little 2 cents, my little rant. Now I'll get back to his rant.
Devices that I can download things on, but I still have to pay for it. It's the only way to get 4K with HDR. I just wish you could pick and choose, like say, oh, I want to watch on one device at a time but in 4K, and then get a price based on your choices. But you know, Netflix gets more money from me this way, so why would they change it? And this isn't a problem exclusive to Netflix, they would just use this as an example. Oh yeah, back to what I was saying. So
don't forget, it's the same thing with cable. Cable used to do the exact same thing. I'm getting back to my rant, but cable would do that exact same thing. Like, you would only need 5 or 6 channels, and they'd give you like 300 channels, and they'd charge you for all 300 when you only need, like I said, 10 channels max. So like I said, streaming services are becoming the new cable. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's continue.
Instead of buying a physical copy, you instead buy a $17.99 a month Netflix subscription. But here's the thing, you pay hundreds, hell thousands of pounds over the years for Netflix, and when you cancel it, you own nothing. You've spent all this money on nothing. Whereas if you spend it on physical copies and then decide to stop buying them, you won't lose access to all these things you want to watch. They'll be there forever. But also, here's another thing. Physical copies cannot be changed. They will always stay the same. If something is cut or censored later on streaming, the physical copy will still have the uncut version for you to watch. The Simpsons Season 3 episode Start Raving Dad is only on DVD, it's not on Disney Plus since it was banned for featuring Michael Jackson. The South Park episode Super Best Friends Cartoon Wars Part 1 and 2 and 200 and 201 are all only available on DVD or for featuring depictions of the Prophet Muhammad. 200 and 201 are only available on the North American DVD. So to conclude, physical is better quality, can't be edited, and you can keep it forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and watch whatever is on screen.
Yeah, so great video there, man. Definitely check out his channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. It's a sad decline, but from a certain perspective, it also is a resurgence I've been seeing in the physical media, not just sales wise, but also with people and communities coming together to really just stand up to these studios and show them like, hey, this is what we want. We want to own what we buy. I think it's very important. Like, if anything, that's probably the most important aspect to physical media right now. I know that there are bigger issues going on in the world, and that's obvious. But when it comes to physical media, we need to tell them we're not going to be paying their crappy streaming services prices. Either keep them low, or we're going to physical. And we're going to continue supporting physical to the point where maybe we can actually do a dent to something when it comes to streaming. I don't know. It'd be great if we could all stand up together and do that, but it's probably not going to happen. But what we can do for us anyways is try to support physical to the point where it is at least financially stable enough that the studios will continue to pursue that. So far, I think we're doing a pretty good job, but it would be cool if we could kind of convert more people to our cause. I know it sounds funny, but hey, the more people collecting, more people buying physical media, the stronger it's going to get. And like I said, just over these last couple of years, I've seen an increase of it in not just in sales, but also in community. So we should keep doing it. So that's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out more of my videos. There'll be a link to the playlist here around my face somewhere. You go watch more of my fun stuff. But with that said, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. Peace.